This is Death or Prison, brought to you by leanonmeusa.org.
This is the Death or Prison podcast, brought to you by leanonmeusa.org. I'm Elmo Golden.
I'm Oswald Newbold.
I'm John Vicente.
And I'm Troy Martin.
We are at Everglades Correctional Institution talking about incentivized camps. We have two of CTP alumni, which stands for Correctional Transitional Program, started by our own Dr. Regina Sharon. Today, we want to hear a little bit about the program. John.
Yes, it starts with the classes. You go through a set of classes, you choose the classes you want to take. There are some that are mandatory, like parole planning, cycle addiction, and the rest you choose the classes you want to take. But they make sure they're not basket weaving, because that's not offered. But the classes that are important that's going to make you successful transition into society. We have a lot of help from the Monday nights with the FIU students. They sort of make workshops, and we learn from those workshops. A lot of the stuff, like when I got here, I was very ignorant of computers and cell phones and whatever. And they make presentations and everything, credit, where I learned to build my credit up, into the 700s. So those were classes that are necessary. You got victim impact, victim awareness, man's search for meaning. You have the CDL class. So it's a group of classes that prepare you for a transition into society. And I was glad I did, because I was like, kind of raw when I came into the program. And I let everybody know, a lot of help from the guys in the program. And that's helped me my transition into society, where I'm now terminated from parole in 3 years and 10 months.
Wow, that's great.
So help me out. When you say you was a bit raw, what do you mean by that? Help the audience know what raw you mean by raw at that moment.
Like I said, I had no technology experience. I had never taken like a victim awareness. I never thought, that there is plenty of victims. In your case, you have, of course, the victim of the family of the victim, their friends, how their life was changed by your crime. Also, your family and your friends become victims too. And in those classes, I learned, like I said, that there were, plenty other victims, and that not to feel sorry for myself after doing almost 36 years in prison, that those people have been suffering all along too.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah. I want to ask you a quick question. What was your attitude before you came to this camp?
Well, I was always taking programs, but they were like meaningless programs just to get a certificate. And actually, I put in for a special hearing to come into the program. Mm-hmm. But when I got here, I thought I knew everything. And I said, do I really want to be here? But after a couple of months and talking to Dr. Shearns and see where she could guide me to, I said, this is the place for me, and this is where I'm going to mature and grow as a person.
I know this is one of the important things. I guess I don't want to leave it out. I met a young lady in the visiting part at another institution, and her husband said that he wanted to sign up for a class, and his wife immediately said, will he come out on the call out? And I looked at her, and what do you know about that? And she said, I know. And then I asked her, I said, what's his DC number? And she gave me his DC number. And I was like, wow. And then I asked her, I said, when is chicken day? And she told me Tuesday. And I almost lost my mind, because in the process of us committing crimes, you was talking about how many people are victims. And I'm listening to this lady live her life as if she was incarcerated herself.
That's true.
We don't ever think about how many people we affect unless we take classes like this, unless we have the program like Victim Impact that you were talking about, that gives us awareness and showed us the ripple effects of the crime that we committed and how all parties are involved or affected. And to see this lady hold her baby that this guy had never seen and see how much she knows about the prison system, it was mind blowing to me.
Yeah, no matter what the crime is, it doesn't have to be murder, it could be robbery. There's always victims, and there's always a ripple effect for these other victims. Mm-hmm. You know, it could be somebody's job. People suffer PTSD from it. You know? So these courses really make you aware, and it puts you in a sense of remorse for the crime, you know, you committed, and there's always a victim, and then you're made aware of that.
Did you get out and go to the Noah's house also?
I did. I went to Noah's house, which is a big part of the program, because the aftercare, you're there, when you're there, and I used to say brotherhood, but to me it has become a family, you know, and the opportunities there, whether it's going to Abraham Ministries or the job opportunities that come from other guys who've been there and done that, opening the doors for you, paving the way, as we call it. You yourself been there.
Yes.
Brought close to the fellows. I've been there when you did.
Yes.
And that's an opportunity that helps tremendously in your transition. Mm-hmm. Because when my family picked me up here and I got in the front seat of a car, I got sick. Because I hadn't been in a car that long. And when I take guys to Tampa, there are guys who, you know, can't take the ride.
Right.
So I understand how I felt and how they feel when they're getting out. But that's part of very helpful. Spending a year in Tampa is very helpful for the transition and opens your opportunity. There are guys that are in a different part of the states, but now they realize they get a good job in Tampa and they want to stay there. They want to live there.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Vicente. Troy Martin, how you doing, brother?
I'm great.
All right.
Thank you. So my name is Troy Martin, and I was arrested here in Miami, Florida, December 6, 1986, at the age of 19 years old for first-degree murder. And I served 33 years before I was released on parole through this program that we're talking about, Corrections Transition Program, specifically Dr. Regina B. Shearns Corrections Transition Program. I'm a parolee. So let me say first that our programs consist of 3 components: to get parole, to live life on parole, and to be terminated from parole. What I mean by life on parole is because, like myself, I was sentenced to life. And parole is just a continuation or extension of that sentence out in society as opposed to continuing it in prison. And in doing so, my desire, my goal is to get to the point of brothers like John Vicente, as well as John Eddins, who are what we consider, as Dr. Shearns mentioned, alumni. That means they've been terminated from parole. So as a parolee, I have certain requirements. One of the requirements, as what you call a special condition that was stipulated by the Florida Commission on Offender Review, formerly known as the Florida Parole Commission, is that I continue in aftercare by coming back and see these guys. So we have a song called Men Going Home, and it says that men who went before me paved the way. Just like guys paved the way for me as a parolee, I'm paving the way for the guys that are still here. So for the guys that are still here, there's a set-up program on a daily basis, 5 days a week, that they attend to, and these classes are structured. We heard of one class called Victim Awareness. One of the essential parts of victim awareness is, first part is that we learn that we are not the victim. More often than not, guys in prison feel that they are the victim because they're in prison. And it's because of some reason that we're in prison. It's normally because we've been convicted of a crime. In most instances, it's a crime that we've committed. Some instances, that's not the case. But usually, a great majority of the time, it's because of crime that we committed. So the first thing that we learn in this program is accountability. To be accountable for your actions, for what you have done. And then you understand the ripple effect, if you guys alluded to earlier, that not only was the victim, like in my case, Anthony Taylor, the victim of this crime, but also his family, his friends, his loved ones, the police. How is the police? They're doing the job. They're there to protect and serve, right? the paramedics who had to pick this body up, the medical examiner, right? We have a continual extension of victims. This is what we call ripple effect. The ripple effect, we learn, is not only affecting the person itself, our families as well. So we're saying that in being accountable, you understand the lives that you were affected is more than just yours, more than you just being here in prison. And it entails that in order to not repeat these type of offenses, you have to change some things. There's a saying, if you continue to do the same thing, you get the same results. So the program is about adjusting our thinking, right? We're men of change. We want to be different. We strive to be different. The classes that we take, mandatory classes, are anger management, because most of the times in the murder case, there's some anger involved. So we have anger management. We have cycle of addiction, which means that not necessarily an addiction. Addiction doesn't have to be just to a drug or alcohol. It could be to a lifestyle, okay, a criminal lifestyle. So we want to learn to decriminalize ourselves, as Dr. Shearns has said, right, deprisonization, to begin to transition from this way of life that we've been living in here for 30 and 40 years. And in doing so, you have to do some stuff different in order to get different results. And part of those things is the Gavel Club, the way that we speak. The Gavel Club teaches us about speaking, introduction, body of a speech, the closing of a speech, right? How to be persuasive in speaking. And this is why we have the ability to go into job settings and get these jobs after being gone so long. The students play an essential part on Monday nights. So the students come in that Dr. Shearns elects either John, myself, or John Eddins. We go into FIU and we help us select students who've signed up for the class. And we let them know what is going to be expected of them. And one thing that they're going to do is bring a presentation on a weekly basis that's going to determine these guys' success when they get out. Okay, they're going to get them updated information or upgrade them as to how society is functioning today. Okay, whether it be about cell phones, the information, how to operate them when you get out, birth certificate, the things you're going to need, identification, the driver's license plates, what's changed in these places, and giving the guys information and the opportunity, okay, to accumulate information that they're going to need when they get out.
That's very important. Troy, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I've been knowing you for some years, and to hear you speak right now, I'm impressed. You still, man, you growing. Troy and I, we have a relationship of not only just being incarcerated, but we've done some work in the community while we were living in transition homes.
Absolutely.
You remember our boys?
Yes.
We had kids that we were mentoring that their father was incarcerated, and we took them under our wing.
Vincent.
You know, I remember you the way you hustled to get a job, and the way you aggravated me. Elmo, come on, get me. I got to go to work. You know, but it takes all that effort, man, and then the way that you selfishly abandon some of the things that you wanted to do just to serve in the community. We were feeding the homeless. We were doing a lot of good work at Noah's house. Yes. And just to hear you talk right now, brother, boy, look at him. I'm fired up just to hear you speak. And I think that I'm looking at a teacher. I'm looking at a master professor. And one thing I won't forget, I had never met Dr. Shearns. But you referred to her nearly on every aspect of life. I remember even to the point where you had a girlfriend and you said, Dr. Shearns said we shouldn't have a girlfriend for 3 years. You remember that?
Absolutely. And she told me, she said, Dr. Shearns don't know me.
Yeah.
But what she didn't understand is that life is a process. And in this process, it's a give and take. You have pros and cons. And one of the things that Dr. Shearns teaches us is that she spoke about guys violating parole with technical violations. And one of the greatest causes is women. It's one of the first things. Because they will have you doing some stuff that you're not supposed to do. Like violating your curfew at night when you're supposed to be in the house, which no house has while we were there. So I also want to speak about the three components, as I mentioned earlier, was parole, life on parole, and termination. So in order to get parole, the first step is these guys have to go to class. They have to be accountable to each other. So we're like a fraternity that's in turn a family. And we hold each other accountable on a daily basis. So our success doesn't begin when we get out. Our success begins right here. And you're going to hear later on from these guys about statistics that were briefly mentioned earlier. But presently, right now, I'm going to Miami-Dade College and majoring in psychology, which is what I did before I was released. So this is a continuum. I had a break in between because, as Elmo mentioned, I had to work, get employment, pay bills. So now I'm back here in Miami, and it's a continued cycle. I come in every week between John and I. We bring Dr. Shearns in. We rotate whatever's needed. We get it done. And it's a part of the process of not just our post-release, but also giving back. One of the things that we learned that we took a lot from society, especially like myself, I took a life. And I'm not proud of that. Today, I'm the man I am today because of this program. So we have to continue to be a part of the program because it's successful.
Great job, man.
You know, and I think I wanted to add is I come in here 5 times a week, but I hold these guys accountable because if they don't do the right thing in here, they probably won't do the right thing out there. And I have the opportunity to go to parole hearings and I speak for them and pave the way for them to get paroled. But if they don't show me that they want that parole and they're going to do the right thing, I won't speak to them. I'm very open about it, and I tell them. I also hold the guys that know is accountable. You've seen me there a few times. The same thing. If I help you get parole, you let me down, I'm through with you.
I also saw you sitting in the parking lot getting ready to pick a guy up and take him all the way to Tampa.
That's right. If they don't have family or somebody to pick him up, I give him a ride to Tampa. I bring him clothes, get him dressed, take him to their first meal as a free man, and set him up in Tampa. Make sure I call the community control officer and say, hey, you got a new guy. And with a sheriff up there, so they're set up with food stamps and all that.
Man, it's so important that we help each other with our shared experience, and that we continue to do the work that needs to be done, paving the way for each other, man. And then also acknowledging those that help us. That's what y'all guys are great. You know, it was easy for me to attach I had never been through the program, but it was easy for me to attach myself to you. There's another part of the alumni that you just invited me to, but I was actually going to break in the picnic that you guys have, where you guys gather together.
Yeah.
Troy had been they having a picnic down here, and I had been trying to make time, and that, even without the invite, I was coming. I was going to break in.
Just let me know.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that.
The picnic is held once a year. They used to have it in Hollywood,
T.Y. Park.
T-Way Park. But then COVID came and things changed, so now we have it, our main sponsor, Fred Rebozo. He has a huge house in Pinecrest, and we have it there. It's a little more homely atmosphere, and at the park, people brought food here. Fred puts everything, delicious food, and we also have the 4 banquets a year, plus a family night that the parolees and alumni can bring their families. One night is with the students from FIU. We have certificate night. So there's a lot of opportunities for the guys to mingle with their families and friends at a relaxed setting, not the visiting part, as it is if you get a visit. This is more a relaxed setting, and the food is real good.
That's awesome. So I have a few things, because I did 25 years behind the wall, but I'm not a parolee. I EOS'd on my sentence, right? And it's one thing I know that, and I got to ask, it might be a funny question, but what was one thing that you wasn't ready for that you struggled with? Not talking about emotion. I'm gonna show you how. One day I went inside of a Miami Grill and I couldn't get the soda out the soda machine, right? I'm being honest. Nobody told me it was a touch screen. I'm sitting there, I'm about to crawl up in the soda machine when I'm in there. What did you run into that just made you say, wow, but you was glad to be experiencing that moment, even though it was difficult? Is it anything?
For me, my first experience, the first day out, I went into Burger King, and I seen the sign that says 2 chicken sandwiches for $6. So I gave the lady a $10 bill, and I got maybe $2 and some change back, and I was like, "Excuse me, miss, I did go to elementary school. I think I can count." And she was like, "What happened?" I said, "I didn't get all the change back." And I forgot one of the things in prison was we didn't have to pay taxes on perishable items. And in society, you did. So the $6 sandwiches became like, what, $7 or something? So I was like, wow, taxes on food. So that was unheard of. But another struggle was, like you said, vending machines, even going to class, but by going to the college, the touch screens.
Technology.
On the computer. Technology for the most part. Especially with the phones. You know, Siri is amazing. Helps me get a lot of places today. So, yeah, just getting upgraded with technology, which is a benefit that these guys have. But it's different when you're there and you by yourself dealing with that, as opposed to when you have a student at the table with you with a bunch of other guys.
That could help you out.
That could help you. You know, but when you get in those isolated situations, you know, and I don't feel any less by having to call one of these guys. I'll say, Siri, call John Vicente, or call one of the guys, Greg Bullitt, call somebody, and I ask, you know, what do you do in this situation? And that's one of the things that we have, and I continue to tell the guys that when I come in, is that our biggest assets when we get out of here is going to be the same guys that you're in here with, right? It's not going to be your family, right? Because your family has a life. And although they're glad to see you home, right? And we learned this firsthand with Elmo. Elmo used to take me to work and back every day, right? In Noah's house. And I'm grateful for him. And he provided me the opportunities to feed the homeless and different things. But one of the things I want to say about our program, Dr. Shearns teaches, and we have a motto, 2 things. If you're going to do anything, the first decision that you should decide is whether it's going to hurt yourself. Before you do it, ask yourself, is it going to hurt me? And if the answer is yes, we don't do it. And then the second thing is, in making that decision, is that particular decision that you're about to do going to hurt anyone else? And if it is, the answer is yes, then the second thing is, don't do it. And if you live by this motto, your life will be a whole lot easier. Because the key thing is to do the right thing, even when you don't want to. It's not easy, but it gets easier as you go along, as you continue to live. As we've been out some time now, Elmo. And you know, for the record, we were incarcerated at Okeechobee years ago, and we did different things. But we had the program set in mind during imprisonment, as well as I was with Mr. Newbold at South Bay, and for years we was in these programs doing the thing. So it's kind of like you got to get this practice. And we talked about this earlier. You know, the way you practice is the way you're going to play. So you have to begin to practice that before you walk out, because there's no magic air out there. And a lot of guys are like, oh, when I get out, this is what's going to happen. It's not going to happen then if you're not doing it now. So really, how successful you are in the future depends on what you do today while you're still here. It's very important.
I'm thankful to hear that. We were just talking about that before the podcast, and I'm in total agreement with that. And one thing I learned too about incarceration, and it doesn't even take a long time, we deny, but there's a level of trauma associated with doing time in prison or being locked up, incarcerated. And something I just want to say to both of you is make sure you take time to do some self-care. You know, because it's a healing process for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I work in the reentry space, so we get federal, state, and our local county jail in our area. And we go through things, we be in denial because we want to be that tough guy. But we just went through a situation. Going through this situation is not normal. Going through prison is not normal life. So I'm proud of both of you.
Thank you.
Right? I'm proud of both of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Troy, I knew you on the inside. And one thing about it, you would be a servant even on the inside. I remember sitting in the law library and Troy sit back in his chair. He like, man, I'm trying to help this guy with his case. He on the basketball court. I done sent for him 2 times. He want me to get the 40 years off on him while he shoot hoops. Somebody get him here. But really, you want it for the individual to take care in their own life and
Absolutely.
be accountable. If I'm helping you do something to help yourself, I have a question, come answer it for me.
Absolutely.
So you was finding ways to serve even before you came home, and it's correlating, and it's over in the streets. You're doing a great job. And even one thing I tell people, and we talked about it earlier, if you run into that rough spot, you have the team.
Support.
You have the network to support,
Yeah.
right? But also be strong because it gets a little rough. We get out here, we get some real life bills, we get a little debt. Life gets real. We run into the storm and run into the clouds, weather the storm. We run into a little situation where it's a rough spot, make it through there, because many times we run into that rough spot and it starts to break us down. Many times when we on supervision, we stay strong. But sometimes when we off of there, we'll start to falter more because we don't have the strong word, accountability. Accountability. Again, I'm proud of y'all, and it's just an honor to have y'all here on the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
John, I want to put this on your plate. So there's probably maybe 7 other camps that are incentivized,
Right.
and they all don't have the CTP in them.
No, only here. Let me say this, the only way you're getting parole in Florida is from this program.
Yes.
The only way. And like I said, it's just an honor and a gift from God, and that to be sent to the program by the commission.
Right.
So it's not like somebody puts you in the program. You have to be sent by the commission. And like I said, there are about 3,800 guys parole eligible in Florida. There are more dying waiting for parole or be sent to the program than they're being released on parole on a yearly basis. Because the commission releases, I guess, 23, 25, 26 a year. And it's not an easy task. But like I said, it's a blessing. And the way this program is set up with the FIU students and Dr. Shearns, it's very difficult to have it at other institutions.
Yes.
The way the program is set up.
I think
because
that's
it's
what
men
she-
teaching men.
Yeah, I think that's what she's been training you guys for, to go into other different prisons and start the CTP program in those other 7 camps. I think that's what she's doing. She's making copies of herself.
Yeah.
If you look at what she's done, you know you guys have gotten an education that other men don't have, whether they're incarcerated or not. You have a personal professor at your beck and call. How awesome is that?
That's right. I learn a lot from when I'm picking her up. Sometimes we go shopping or whatever, or just come in here and I keep my ears open because it's an education. And I hear her teach the students Monday nights out there in the benches waiting for them. She teaches the students. I always got my ears open because when it comes to psychology and criminal justice, she's a master.
Amen.
So if I may add, I just want to say that I beg to differ because this program is exclusive, and it's like going to the academic aspect of school in the United States. You start off in elementary school, then you go to junior high school, then you go to high school, then you go to college. And this is the college for the people that want to get parole. And one of the things is you have to come with that spirit and that mindset that you're ready to put in work. Because once you get in CTP, this isn't the time to relax. They have to write journals every day that these guys will tell you about, right? And in these journals, you have to write 3 things that you're grateful for every day and 1 proud moment. Some guys don't want to do the journal. Why? Because it's work, okay? Now, you have the classes that you're going to attend, a minimum of 5 per semester, as she mentioned. 6 and better, you automatically qualify for the honor roll, right? And so you have to put in some work. Like anything in life, what you put in is what you get out. And at these other institutions, right, the staff, okay, as we spoke about earlier, someone mentioned, the staff is not willing to endure what these staff have to go through. You see Mr. Ziegler sitting there, assistant warden? He could be home or doing whatever else he tried to do. He's a Buffalo Bill
Watching
maniac.
the Buffalo
He could be
Bills.
doing something else, but he's here, dedicated. Everyone is not willing to do that and commit to that, okay? It takes from his personal life to do that. So what I'm saying to you is, you have to have a goal to shoot for in life. And for the guys that are in prison in Florida that are parole eligible, CTP is that goal.
I got something I'd like for y'all to do. If it's one thing you could say to somebody who's listening out there, what would you tell them? Let our audience know, whether it's somebody that's locked up, a family member, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that you have to dedicate your life to doing what's right. And with that, the universe will bless you. God will bless you. The environment will bless you. People will recognize you for your works. I heard Michael Jordan say one thing, if nothing else. He says, if you're good at anything, you don't have to talk about it. People will do that for you. So be good at whatever it is that you do. And with a quote from Martin Luther King, he says, if you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper you can be. And when you apply that mindset and that attitude, and you're working for a greater purpose other than yourself, things are going to work out for you. It may take a little longer. For me, I first went on parole when we was at South Bay in 2010. I wasn't released. I wasn't paroled till 2019. Took some work. It was a process. It wasn't easy, but I was willing to put in the work. And then that's only the first part. It's just to get to society. Remember I said there's 3 components: parole, life on parole, and termination. So I'm still in the second phase, right? I'll be glad when I could get like this guy, right? He's flying all over the world, driving people up and down the road now. But that's a goal of mine. Just like the people that have the goal to get out through a parole, you have to get the CTP. And it's one step at a time. It's one day at a time. And live your best life in every moment that you're alive.
John,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be right if we don't get words from you,
Yeah.
please. What would you
well,
share with our people?
For society and the family members, if you do the right thing, you won't come to prison. And if you're in prison, you do the right thing, like Troy said, you'll get recognized, and eventually a parole commission will recognize that you're deserving of coming to a program like this or the pre-CTP program. I always try to do the right thing, and even in my hearing, as he mentioned, people will talk about you. When I just introduce myself and my termination hearing, and I said, I let other people speak of what I do, and that's the way it happened. And I want to give kudos to Mr. Ziegler, because if you see me out there waiting, if they're not out by 9:30, you know who I'm going to call.
Amen. Amen. He'll get it done.
Yeah.
We got to be thankful for him. Thank you guys again. We love what you're doing here. We thank you for just being willing to be servants. I've been hearing that word all day: servant leader, servant leader, servant leader. This is a part of who I am, and I love it. And that's also a part of who my brother is. So we look forward to continue to connect with this program, with this institution, and with the work that you guys have been doing.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for an honor for being here. And for me, like working with a program, and I don't call it work. You know, to me,
right.
it's an entertainment, and it's a joy that I get, coming back here and see my family.
Yes. Well, this has been the Death of Prison podcast. We're here at Everglades Correctional Institution, what we would call a college campus now. This has been the Death of Prison podcast, and we say, choose life.